Okay guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to be telling someone else's story. And that person is Jesus. We unfortunately couldn't get Jesus here with us in person to record this, but it's okay. Got a whole book about him. So first off, we got how he was born. So basically, that was just crazy. He was born of a virgin. Which, like, I think in any day, that would be, like, crazy. Like, if that happened now, I'd be like,
it's impossible.
It's just not possible. But she was blessed by the Lord, and she was given the gift of pregnancy. But she was a virgin. And the funny part is, she had a whole fiance. And you can imagine his reaction. He even tried to leave her, basically, right?
So that she wouldn't be embarrassed in public if people found out that she was pregnant outside of marriage.
Because everyone would have been like, seriously? Like, no one would have believed her if she was like, guys, I swear I'm a virgin. Like, guys, I promise. And then, by the time he actually was born, him, his mom, and his father, Joseph, he's the dad who stepped up.
Yes.
They all went to Bethlehem.
Yes.
Because there's this king named Herod. And he was just mad at the fact that Jesus was going to be born. And he wanted to kill Jesus. Like, a baby, not even born yet. And he's like, it literally says, Herod is going to search for the child to kill him. That's a little crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that made Herod really mad when they went to Bethlehem.
He felt threatened.
Yeah. And during that time, there was this, like, Roman emperor. His name was Augustus. And he decreed that a census should be taken, which is basically like taxing the people. And so it required everyone to go to their ancestral towns to register for this tax. And Joseph was from Bethlehem, so that's one of the reasons why they went back there. And also because Herod was trying to kill Jesus.
Yes.
But then they ended up going back to Nazareth after Herod died. Because then, obviously, it was safe for Jesus to go back. Not much is known about Jesus up until he's 12. And that's because it says every year his parents went to Jerusalem for the Passover festival. And when he was 12 years old, they just went to the festival as usual. And they usually traveled in big groups. And so by the time they were going back home, Jesus wasn't with them. And they just didn't notice because they probably assumed that he was like with some of the other kids or just somewhere else in the group. Like, it's not like they were traveling alone and they're like, oh dang, we lost our kid.
We lost our kid. So they went back.
Yeah. This is that 3 days later they finally found him in the temple. And he was sitting with the religious leaders, who were these guys who, like, they knew the Torah. Isn't that what it was back then?
Yeah.
Which is basically like the Old Testament in the Bible.
The first 5 books.
Oh.
First 4. Well, no, that's fair. We can cut that. That's okay. It's basically the Old Testament.
And so they, like, knew it because they didn't have books like this back then. Like, you had to go to a temple and was it read to them or could they read it?
Most of the people back then couldn't read. A lot of them weren't educated in schools, so they went to the temples and they would be read to instead of having their own scriptures.
Yeah. And so, like, he was sitting with these religious leaders who, like, they knew a lot about it. And he was talking with them and asking them questions. And it says that all who heard him, Jesus, were amazed at his understanding and his answers. Like, this little 12-year-old boy, like, I would have been shocked. I would have been like, this kid who's a lot younger than me, like, knows more about the Torah than I do. And obviously his parents were like, what the heck are you doing here? And he said, didn't you know that I must be in my father's house? He's a little sassy boy.
Little sassy.
But he was still obedient to his parents, and he went back to Nazareth with them. And that's basically all we know about child Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's like some things that you can like assume, like the fact that his father was a carpenter, Joseph, and so he probably spent his youth in carpentry, building stuff. When we finally know more about Jesus, he's 30 and he's getting baptized by this guy named John the Baptist.
Who is his cousin?
Yeah.
John the Baptist was his cousin. Mary and Elizabeth were pregnant at the same time, and it says that the baby in Elizabeth's womb, John, leaped for joy. And so
In the presence
of
Jesus.
So it's really cool to see how John is able to pave the way for his cousin, Jesus the Messiah, and even in the womb, he knew what his life was supposed to be spent doing.
Yeah. And so it actually says that John tried to talk Jesus out of baptism. And he was like, I'm the one who needs to be baptized. Like, you are this, like, amazing person. Like, you are the Messiah. Like, I should be being baptized by you. Why are you coming to me? And Jesus says, it should be done, for we must carry out all that God requires. And so John agreed. And this is, in my opinion, the coolest part. After Jesus got baptized, the heavens opened up, and he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove and settling on him. And a voice from heaven said, this is my dearly loved Son, who brings me great joy. Like, I just think that'd be so cool to hear, because obviously, like, he has God, his father, and then he has, like, Joseph, who's, like, his father figure, but he actually gets to hear his father say, like, this is my dearly loved Son, who brings me great joy. And this is before Jesus started his ministry too. And at the start of Jesus' ministry, he didn't do it alone. He had 12 other disciples that were like his main disciples. And so he had Simon, who he later gave the name Peter, James and John, who were brothers, Andrew, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James, Thaddeus, Simon, and Judas, who, spoiler alert, betrayed Jesus.
him.
And yeah, those are like his main guys who like went along all throughout with him. And so during his ministry, he was teaching about, he traveled through Galilee, and Judea, teaching radical, countercultural messages. He was teaching about love, forgiveness, and the kingdom of God. And most, like, famously, his sermons are the Sermon on the Mount, where, like, he just goes on and on talking about different things. He talks about anger, the law, divorce, revenge, giving to the needy, loving your enemies, praying and fasting, money, judging people, prayer. Like, he was just, like, on a roll. He was like, I've been waiting 30 years to tell you guys about this. Like, here you go.
Thousands of people
Yeah.
were present for this.
And this made people really mad. I'll give you a little sneak peek of what's to come. This made people mad. Like, can you believe this? He's teaching about love and forgiveness and all of this stuff. And that made people really, really mad. But while he was teaching, he also did some really cool things. So one of the things that Jesus did was he cured the sick. And one of my favorite, stories of this is how there was a woman and she had been suffering for 12 years with constant bleeding. And they couldn't find a cure for her. And so she was behind Jesus, and she had faith that if she just touched the hem of his robe, that she would be healed. And once she did this, immediately the bleeding stopped. And he was like, okay, wait, who touched me? And everyone in the crowd denied it. And Jesus said, someone deliberately touched me, for I felt healing power go out from me. That'd be I don't even know what that would feel like. Can you imagine, you're just walking in your robe, someone touches your robe, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just felt me heal someone.
I think I just saved someone's life.
What the? And this woman, she realized that she couldn't stay hidden, and she trembled and she fell to her knees, and the crowd heard her explain why she had touched him and that she had been immediately healed. She's probably oh shoot, am I in trouble? She's probably I'm so sorry, I've been bleeding for years, and I thought maybe if I just touched the hem of your robe that I'd be healed, and then I was. And he was like, daughter, your faith has made you well, go in peace. He wasn't mad. I don't know why he would be mad. But he was he reassured her. He was go in peace. You're welcome.
She had the humbleness that it required for her to come before him and admit that she needed help.
Yeah.
And she got that help.
And also, another one of his healings was that he healed a man who was blind from birth. A man who had never ever seen anything. From the moment he was born, he could not see. And so I'm sure by then, he was wow, I just have accepted the fact that I'll never see. It says it was a man, so he's probably most likely not a kid. Probably I have no idea how old he'd be.
In adulthood.
Yeah, adulthood.
Old.
Adulthood.
That's getting cut out.
And back then people believed that if you were born of an illness, it was because of your parents' sin. And so people were obviously asking why was he born blind? Is it because of his own sins or his parents' sins? And Jesus said it was not because of his sins or his parents' sins. This happened so the power of God could be seen in him. And so Jesus spit on the ground, made mud with the saliva, and spread it over the man's eyes. And then he was go wash your eyes. And the guy washed his eyes and came back, and he's oh my gosh, I can see.
I can see now. It's a miracle.
That's really cool to me. Another one of his healings, which I find really, really interesting, is that there were 2 demon-possessed men, which back then demons were really rampant. It was
still
crazy. And it says that they came out of the tombs and they were so violent that no one could go in their area. Dang, I'd be scared too. It's basically going in downtown Portland. You don't want to go down there alone. They began screaming at him. Why are you interfering with us, Son of God? Have you come to torture us before God's appointed time? Definitely some Portland stuff.
Major Portland stuff going on.
And there was pigs in the distance. And the demons begged, if you cast us out, send us into that herd of pigs. And Jesus was okay, bet. Go to the pigs. And so the demons came out of the men, entered the pigs, and the whole herd plunged down into the steep hillside, into the lake, and drowned in the water.
Even the demons know that Jesus has power.
Yeah.
And so they feared him and they begged for mercy. I mean, even just hearing, you would think demons, of all creatures, like, they're evil, they want nothing to do with him, but even they know that they are no match for the power of the Lord.
And then these are just some really cool things that Jesus did. First of all, he walked on water, which, like, I don't know about you, but I can't do that. I've tried.
Yeah,
I
tried
just,
a few times.
I just fall. And not only can he walk on water, but he can calm the water. More specifically, the storms. There was like a huge, big storm, and a bunch of his disciples were in the boat, and they were like freaking out. And Jesus was like, I'm gonna calm the storm.
Don't worry about it.
And then he did.
Mm-hmm.
And then, man, Jesus really loves water apparently, because he turned water into wine at this, was it a wedding?
Yes, it was a wedding.
Yeah, he was at a wedding. They were all out of wine, and they're like, we need our wine. What are we gonna do? And he was like, bring me a bunch of water. And then he turned it into wine. And something really cool about this is the fact that back then, when they were serving wine at parties, they would often bring out like lower quality wine towards the end, and they would have the high quality wine in the beginning. Because obviously, like, everyone's a little tipsy. They've had
They're not gonna notice it's lower quality.
Few glasses of wine. But Jesus turned it into very high quality wine. And I think when it was given to someone, he was like, wow, like, let me find it actually. When the master of the ceremonies tasted the water that was now wine, not knowing where it had come from, though of course the servants knew, he called the bridegroom over. A host always serves the best wine first, he said. Then, when everyone has had a lot to drink, he brings out the less expensive wine. But you have kept the best until now. So yeah, like, Jesus made the best wine.
They were all shocked.
Yeah.
It wasn't usual for their customs.
Yeah. Like, everyone back then just served cheaper wine. I mean, nowadays, people would probably do that. They'd be like, you've had a lot of wine already, like, I've already spent so much on this wedding. I'm just gonna give the cheap stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it also kind of shows, like, Jesus's character. Like, he's not gonna do something and then...
He's not gonna withhold a full blessing. If he's gonna bless you, it's not gonna be like, here's a little, I guess, I'll give you half.
Like, here's
just
a little bit.
No, his desire is to bless his children.
Yeah. And then finally, this is probably, like, one of the... Actually, I don't know. This is just, like, a really cool demonstration of his power. Yeah. And it's the fact that he brought a dead person back to life.
And it foreshadowed his own death and resurrection as well.
Yeah. And so, it says, okay, basically there's this guy, and he was really sick, and he lived with his sisters. And, like, they told Jesus, like, Lazarus is really, really sick. And I think Jesus stayed where he was for a couple of days. Because...
And they were close friends.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus and Lazarus were very close friends.
They're, like, best buddies. Like, all of his disciples probably would have been like, Jesus, why are we staying where we are for 2 days? Like, we should go see Lazarus before he's dead. Like, the disciples were probably close with him too, since Jesus spent a lot of time with him. But yeah, Jesus stayed where he was, and then finally, he went back, and he was dead. But, don't worry. And there's a really, really famous Bible verse, and it's the shortest verse in the whole Bible. It's John 11:35, and it says, "Then Jesus wept."
Even though he knew that he would be able to save Lazarus, the grief that he felt from his close friend dying was very real. And he cried. And that just shows that, Jesus was the Son of God, but he was also human, and he felt human emotions, and he has gone through everything that we have gone through.
And like, a lot of people could have thought like, oh, he doesn't care about Lazarus that much because he waited 2 days to see him. But like, Jesus felt so much grief for his friend, even though he knew like he would, like Jesus knew he was going to resurrect him. Like, he still felt the same emotions that we do. Like, even though he is God, like, he still feels emotions like we do. Crazy thought.
Crazy thought.
So yeah.
The author of emotions would feel emotions as well.
How long was he dead for?
I
know it was,
I want to say 4 days. Was it not? Because I feel like, I think according to customs, after 3 days,
yeah,
they believed that the person in the tomb was like actually dead. And so the fact that he resurrected him on the 4th day was like, wow, this guy was like for sure dead. We know that for a fact, and he still came back to life. I don't know if that's correct.
I don't think, I'm pretty sure. I don't think it says in this book, but after 3 days of dying, they believed that like their spirit was still in them. So like, even if someone was dead, if they like somehow came back to life before that 3 days, people could have been like, oh, like the spirit was still in them, like duh. But after 4 days, it was believed that like the spirit was gone, and so they were like really dead. And so at this point, like, they believed Lazarus was dead. And so like the fact that Jesus resurrected him was like crazy. And this is foreshadowing to Jesus's death and resurrection. It says that there is a tomb, a cave with a stone rolled across its entrance, which is the same for Jesus's tomb. And so Jesus said to roll the stone aside. And the difference between this and Jesus's resurrection is the fact that Lazarus was still there. But when Jesus saw him, he said, "Lazarus, come out." And the dead man came out, his hands and feet bound in grave clothes, his face wrapped up in a headcloth. Jesus told them, "Unwrap him and let him go." So obviously, he was alive. Like, they like prepared his body for like to stay in there. Like, they believed he was dead. Like, he was all wrapped up. Like, they believed he was gone. But then Jesus resurrected him. So I talked about this a little bit before, but the concept of what Jesus was doing made religious leaders so mad. They like couldn't believe that he was doing this. Like, they had this whole law that they followed. They would make up excuses all the time or misinterpret the law. Like, it says here in Mark 3, like, Jesus healed on the Sabbath, which was their day of rest. Like, they didn't do anything on that day. And so like they're called Pharisees. They took this so literally. Like, even something good like healing, they're like, no, you cannot do this on the Sabbath. This is when we rest. Even though they should have been glad that someone was being healed. And yeah, and so it says, since it was the Sabbath, Jesus's enemies watched him closely. If he healed the man's hand, they planned to accuse him of working on the Sabbath. Which, like, are we serious? Like, that's so stupid. Like, because you're not supposed to work on the Sabbath. And so they were going to try to say, like, oh, he's healing, so he's working.
They had very stubborn hearts.
Yeah. And then Jesus, he did not care about what they thought. He said to the man with the deformed hand, "Come and stand in front of everyone." Then he turned to his critics and asked, "Does the law permit good deeds on Sabbath, or is it a day for doing evil? Is this a day to save life or to destroy it?" But they wouldn't answer him. Jesus was clocking them. He was like,
It's clocking them.
Would you rather me not heal them on this day? Like, yes, it's the Sabbath, but like, are you saying that it's not okay for me to heal someone and do good? And he looked around at them angrily and was deeply saddened by their hard hearts. He said to the man, "Hold out your hand." So the man held out his hand, and it was restored. At once the Pharisees went away and met with the supporters of Herod, the guy who was trying to kill baby Jesus, to plot how to kill Jesus.
I think actually that's a different Herod.
Ah,
I think it's the next Herod.
dang it. See, they all have
They all
similar
repeat
names. Like, there's a lot of Johns.
A lot of Herods.
Like,
But it was a guy named Herod.
yeah.
So we're not surprised.
Classic Herod.
Classic Herod.
And they didn't have last names back then. They would go by, like, son of.
Jesus, son of Joseph.
Yeah. So, not my fault. Just a simple mistake. And before Jesus' death, he had one last supper with his disciples. And this was a very sad supper because he was betrayed. He had one of his disciples named Judas, and Judas
Wanted money.
Yeah, he loved money. So these like leading priests came up to Judas and he went to one of the leading priests and said, "How much will you pay me to betray Jesus to you?" And they gave him 30 pieces of silver, which was not a lot. Like, it wasn't like a couple pennies, but it was still not like $1,000. Like, it was not a ton of money. Like, if someone went up to me and was like, "How much money?" Like, if I went to someone and I was like, "How much money would you give me to betray Avery?" They're like, I actually don't know how much money 30 pieces of silver would be equivalent to now. Let's just say, yeah, let's Google it, actually.
Most common currency, the 420 grams of silver, so 30 pieces or whatever, roughly $350 to $450.
So yeah, if they gave me that price to betray my good friend Avery, I'd be like, no. You gotta pay me a lot more than that. Like, you can't buy anything nowadays with that. I mean, you can, but it's like, that's not gonna get you very far. Like, at this point, Judas didn't have a house. He was traveling around with Jesus and the other disciples. Like, he didn't have a wife, as far as we know. Like, they didn't have cars back then, so obviously he didn't have a car. Like, he didn't have much. And so, to betray Jesus for only that much money, that's crazy.
Pretty crazy.
But he accepted it, and he started looking for an opportunity to betray Jesus. And at the supper, he told the people that were going to kill Jesus that he was going to, Judas had given them the prearranged signal. "You will know which one to arrest when I greet him with a kiss. Then you can take him away under guard." And so then Judas went up to Jesus. He was like, "Let me give you a kiss." And
On the cheek.
yeah, holy kiss.
Holy
Don't worry.
kiss, a common greeting.
Yeah, like how like French people, for example, like to go like a mwah mwah, like it's just like it's not weird. And then the others grabbed Jesus and then they arrested him. And obviously this created a bunch of chaos at the supper. They were like, "No, Jesus, you're arrested." And yeah, it just caused a lot of chaos. And then Jesus was arrested.
And the Last Supper is where we get communion. That's the reason why we were instructed, Jesus instructed us to take the bread and the blood or the wine. So that's where communion came from, was the Last Supper.
Yeah. And then Jesus was arrested, and he was put on trial, and he was sentenced to be executed by the Roman governor Pontius Pilate. And Pilate actually didn't want to, as far as I know.
We just talked about this last night. Do you want me to explain it?
Yeah, you can.
So, it was common practice on the holy day or the Sabbath, whoever was being executed that day, the Jews, they had the option to choose one person on death row to be set free. And so Jesus was one of those people. And Pilate did not think, he knew that Jesus was innocent. And so he asked, like, are you sure you guys really want to do this? And instead of freeing Jesus, they freed a murderer instead, even though Jesus was completely free of guilt, and the murderer was the person who really should have died.
Yeah. And while he was arrested and like sentenced and then put onto the cross, he was brutally beaten. Something that they would do is, Randy explained this one time, they would like put glass shards on something,
On a whip.
and they would like whip someone and then pull it, so it would just tear up their skin. Like, he was brutally beaten, and he had to carry the cross that he was going to be crucified on. And this was not light. It was heavy, and he was already weak and brutally beaten, and he had to carry that to where he would be crucified. And it was just like, it was brutal. And Jesus, he knew that he had to die, but he was still human. And it says, at noon, darkness fell across the whole land until 3 o'clock. Then at 3 o'clock, Jesus called out with a loud voice, my God, why have you abandoned me?" And this whole time, he was quiet. Until then, he wasn't like trying to defend himself or argue back with them or like beg them to stop. He was quiet. And so when he finally spoke, he said, my God, why have you abandoned me?" Because it was brutal. It was horrible. And with death on a cross, you're hung up like by your arms, and the way that you die is literally the weight of gravity killing you. And it's just horrible. It's brutal. But good news, he rose again.
3 days later.
Yeah. Early on Sunday morning, as the new day was dawning, Mary Magdalene, is that how you say her name?
Mm-hmm.
And the other Mary, was that his mom?
Yes. I don't know.
I think it was his mom. I'm not totally sure. Basically, it was two women, which we'll get to that in a second. They went out to visit the tomb. They're obviously still in mourning. Like, Jesus had just died a couple days before. And suddenly, there was a great earthquake. And an angel of the Lord came down from heaven, rolled aside the stone, heard that before, and sat on it. His face shone like lightning, and his clothing was white as snow. The guards shook with fear. These were guards around the tomb, obviously, because they didn't want anyone stealing Jesus's body. Like, Jesus was very popular at this point, and so they were there to protect the tomb And like if Jesus tried to just walk out of there, they would have been there to see it. So they were there to make sure like no lies were told about it, because they would have been like, I was literally at the tomb, like this did not happen. So like they couldn't, okay, wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Yeah, the guards shook with fear when they saw him, and they fell into a dead faint. Dang. Then the angel spoke to the woman, "Do not be afraid." Because obviously, like,
That's terrifying.
There's just guards that were terrified. And so he's like, "Woman, ladies, don't be afraid. I know you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He isn't here. He is risen from the dead, just as he said would happen. Come and see where his body was lying. And now go quickly and tell the disciples that he is risen from the dead, and he is going ahead of you to Galilee. You will see him there. Remember what I have told you." The woman ran quickly from the tomb. They were very frightened, but also filled with great joy, and they rushed to give the disciples the angel's message. And they went. Jesus met them and greeted them, and they ran to him, grasped his feet, and worshiped him. Like, yeah, he was not in the tomb. And the guards there, they would have known that. They would have been like, yeah, no one entered, no one left. Like, we were watching it. And back then, women were not taken seriously. And so the fact that Jesus had women tell others about the fact that he was risen is like crazy.
It shows his character.
Like, it shows that like Jesus loves everyone the same. And like it really shows his character with that. Like, there would have probably been people who were like, they're women telling me. Why would I believe them? Same people who would have probably believed two men telling them. But Jesus had two women tell them. But yeah. And then Jesus commissioned his disciples, which is also relevant to Christians today, it says, Jesus came and told his disciples, "I have been given all authority in heaven and on earth. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I have given you. And be sure of this, I am with you always, even to the end of the age." And yeah, and then he ascended into heaven.
And he's coming back. And we'll
Yeah.
see him again.
We don't know the day or the time, but Jesus will come back one day. And that's a whole other topic. But yeah, there's Jesus's life. And what I was reading was from 4 books called the Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. These are
Written by his disciples.
Yeah. Except for Luke. Luke was a doctor, I'm pretty sure, or a physician. He was something like that. So he was very detail oriented, and he collected stories from all of the disciples and like put it all out in like, how do I explain this? He's very detail oriented. He's less about like,
And so is Matthew.
yeah, Matthew was a tax collector, and so he was also very detail oriented. And it's basically just another perspective. All of these books talk about relatively the same thing. They talk about Jesus' ministry, but they talk about it in different ways. And some of them mention different stories that others don't, or they mention stories in like a different way. And yeah, but they all tell the same story of Jesus' life and his ministry. And so yeah, there's Jesus' life for you. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video,
subscribe.
Oh yeah,
Hit that like button.
wait, what is it? Smash that subscribe button. Oh wait, no. If you like this video, smash the like button. And if you want to see more videos like this, smash the subscribe button. We'll maybe see you next time. We'll see.
We'll see.
Bye.
Bye.